Hello, my name is Kenzie Smith, and I'll be giving a presidential speech over George Washington. This is a speech over a letter that he had gotten about the war and how it was not a good way to end things between a feud between each other, and they thought that if it could be more peaceful, to make it more peaceful. And it was written on March 15th, 1783. And in the first paragraph, George Washington says about how he feels about the Army and states that even though he is reading the letter that was wrote to him, that is not how he feels. The second paragraph is how they would protect, the Army would protect if there was not an army in place, instead just somebody that could go through and say, well, this is how we're going to discuss things and this is how we're going to do it in that manner, instead of saying, well, let's fight and battle to the death. Paragraph 3 is about how he feels about what they wrote and how he thinks that the Army is very helpful the way that it is going, instead of how it would be if we were just doing all peacemaker stuff. Paragraph 4 is about how the Army helps now and how he wants to improve it, and that basically just sums up that whole speech. And then the main purpose is building an army that is significant for everybody and not just for the people that want to fight. And this goal was met, and he did explain very well about everything that he mentioned in the speech, and how the Army would be better if it was more of just a war instead of just a peacemaker army. And then the audience was the men that he was talking to, the congressional men, and he wanted to furthermore make sure that they were all on his side instead of the side of the letter writer. And he directly addressed the letter writer and how he disliked and felt that it was a disgrace that he would come up to his justice and think that it was his problem that he made the Army and that he was doing it inefficiently. The main message is that the Army will stand tall no matter what, and that he was not going to let that one little letter stand below his ground and make him weary about what he was what the Army did, and he was going to continue doing everything for the Army. I could definitely understand this message that he was trying to send, and I feel like that it is a very strong message because it is talking about one of the world's greatest things that we have now that protect us and all of our families through the battles of everything that they go through and everything that we go through and all the wars that have been solved before they even became a war. The emotional through this whole thing is he's very unsatisfied that people feel this way about the Army, and that he thinks that if they feel this way, then they need to redirect what they're thinking, because the Army is here to help us, not to hurt us. The language in this is that he is very stern, and that he makes his point, and he does not want anything to feel like he is going both ways instead of just one way. That he says in the beginning that he is very for the Army, and he does not want to let go of the relationship he has had with the Army, and he is not going to back down even though there are some people that feel strongly against it. It's organized as in what he was saying and what he was doing is organized in the way that a speech should be organized, and it in the beginning states his thesis, and yes, the second and third and fourth paragraph is all about how he feels about the Army, how the letter says they feel about the Army, and he sums it up in the very last paragraph very evenly. The reaction that the men that he was talking to had was not very pleasant. They did not like the way that he was letting down the townspeople, because they felt as if the Army was not doing justice, that it was just hurting them. What I learned from this is that even well-pointed and even well-said and well-spoken, and no matter how much you think somebody is on your side when you're giving a speech, they could not be, and they turn around and they tell you different afterwards because they thought that you were different. And even though you point in your direction, some other people may point in a different direction, and that you shouldn't get hurt by that because your speech is about you and how you feel. Did these things show up in the textbook? Yes. The form of how the speech should be is very well noted and very well written, and I think that the organization is very good and very obvious on how it should be, and I think that George Washington did an amazing job of making everyone feel as if the war is very important. Thank you.